All right, so we are here for another episode of Behind the Empire, and I'm sitting down with the lovely Ruby Lay, and she has an awesome business that's at Good Gentle Man, just one MAN.com, and we wanted to go a little bit deeper because her episode is really interesting looking at what you do. Well, first of all, hello, and thank you so much for sitting down with me.
Hi. No, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Yes. Just for everybody that's seeing the final version of this, like I took maybe 4 times to get the intro right. So yay, I get to talk to Ruby now so I can concentrate. All right. So we're going to look at a little bit more behind some of the business stuff that's kind of maybe going on behind your business. And one of the things that caught my attention was that you changed your ideas a bit. Like you kind of started in one place and it wasn't just like, I'm going to do this. Like it wasn't your final, idea of what you were going for. And you also had some external, influences like family and this sort of thing saying like, don't do this, do something else. And I was curious to know if you had any sort of internal resistance to kind of this idea as well that you're working on. Like if there was any sort of like, fears or limiting scripts or beliefs that, that's what we kind of refer to at IWT, like this idea of, limiting scripts or insecurities. Was there any of that kind of going on for you?
Oh, so much. I wouldn't even know where to start because there are multiple layers, as you were stating, in the sense of even getting down what kind of business I wanted exactly, even the business name, even what I had the niche a little bit, but that I was trying to figure out while at the same time maintaining the fears of my family. And you'll learn that I'm a very big family person. Growing in an Asian household, they're supposed to be really important, and they are important in my life, but they also play a really big influence. And then that takes it a whole step further, which is internally. So we'll start internally since you ended there. That one is a really big struggle because I have a fear of failure. I don't think anybody that starts a business or is an entrepreneur, I'm pretty sure everyone's kind of been through that. For me, it was what really influenced that fear even more is because I didn't want to fail in front of other people, AKA my family. Even till today, I still fear that. But I think the biggest is fearing in front of the people you love the most, who also had this big fear in the beginning. So I didn't want to prove them right. But to me, that was a lot to lose. So I believe the fear in front of others is huge. And from there, though, I just kind of I just kept going. Really, I couldn't even explain why I decided to keep going with that fear in mind. Yeah. And I mean, at the end of the day, I just kept going and I just kept figuring it out. That's my own quote. I just figure it out. So even in the beginning of the business and figuring out this is not exactly what I wanted, maybe this isn't exactly the approach that I wanted. From there, I just kept developing and I just kept going and I landed where I am now.
That's really interesting as well. Like you were talking about like trying to figure out what your niche was or your idea and you didn't quite have it nailed down like 100%. Like, do you have any advice for people that are in that stage where they're trying to figure it out and a lot of people want to get it right or they want to figure it out before they move forward? I mean, is that kind of how it works or?
I don't think so. I think one of the greatest things that I learned even before really hopping in full time, for example, which was pretty quickly after I began to decide that I wanted a business, was I just have to try. That's it. You just have to try. And I mean, I seek guidance in this as well. So when I did want to start my own business, I looked at different programs and different coaches. I believe in the importance of seeking help instead of just trying to figure it out on my own, especially if it's something that I'm not an expert in or that I know. Yeah. So I had help in that sense and even my old corporate bosses they were like that too, like just try. And if you mess up, you clean it up and you do it again. So I did the same. My biggest advice I would say is probably at least remembering the reason why you want a business in the first place and the type of people, if you do have one, that you want to help. So for me, I'm a I'm a very passionate person. I'm not going to just pick a niche just to pick a niche that will make me money.
Yeah. No, that nobody
I'm very
should do
much,
that. Like,
no,
let's just be, no, don't do that.
It's only going to take you so far, but it won't help you last. I believe if you don't do something that you actually genuinely feel passionate about or love. So for me, I really wanted, I mean, in the field of dating and love, I wanted to help those that just have really good hearts, you know, and good gentlemen. Like they have good intentions. They're really great people. They just maybe don't know what to do. And in our world right now, it's not really helping them out, trying to figure it out. So I knew at least my foundation was I wanted to help people with good hearts. And kind of that give back feel that's rewarding to me. So that was at least the foundation, and just wanting to make a difference and help people find love. That was it. Yeah. And then from there, I had to figure out the exact kind of person and who I best work with and things like that. So
that's that's a really good point though. So how did you figure out like who the people were? Did you like figure it out in your head, in your bedroom or your office, and not talking to anyone, and like just like, okay, these people. Totally. Like, is it like that?
Yeah, right before I sleep. No, so I just imagine, okay, I got it. And in the morning I wake up with my coffee, and that's when it just zaps to me.
Yeah. Isn't that how it works?
I wish I could say that. That would sound like a better story.
It'd be easier. God.
I will agree that there are aha moments.
Right.
That's what I would say. There are definitely aha moments. But those moments come when I realize, you know, this is the type of person I work so well with. One, right. That's important. But you have to know that you're actually helping them. And then another is that, well, I like it too. Like I like working with them, and I know I can make that difference because I know how to, I can relate to that population a lot of times, with business owners and their niches. You know, you can relate to them, you know, you can feel their pain, but at the same time, you know, you can help.
Right.
I think that's the biggest thing. You can help this specific population with whatever knowledge you have or expertise you have. And it just kind of hit me in the head like that. I think I was just going through the process, getting different kind of clients. And somebody actually, it wasn't in the beginning, good gentlemen. And I realized the pattern of all the men that I was helping. They're like, I think I'm a good guy. Like, I'm a good gentleman. I was like, oh, you know, ding. You know, there it is. There's my niche.
But that's the thing that I love, though, is that like there's a common thread that like you might not even realize it, or other people listening, but it's you're doing stuff. Like you're working with people, or you're like, okay, I think I can help this person. I'll go work with them. Oh, that didn't really fit. Oh, this person over here, I really like working with them. And oh, this person and this person. And then you see the patterns. But it, like a lot of people, you know, in that stage of trying to figure things out, even if it's, you know, doing coaching, or if it's even just doing, say, like online products or this sort of thing, a lot of people resist that, like actually going and helping people or going and talking to people. Because that's really when you figure things out. Because it's not like you can't figure it all out in your head with no other. No, you can't. And this goes with ongoing business. So you can't really assume who you work well with, what you do well. You just have to try. And that's a really great point, because I think the biggest thing I've seen is when people, let's say they start working with a client one-on-one and they realize maybe a couple weeks in that this is not working. I don't like it. Yeah.
And just because they don't like it, or just because they don't see the difference in that client, that person is probably not it. That person and whoever fits that type of personality is probably not the niche you want. When in reality, I actually don't see it a lot of times to the very end.
Yeah.
It takes time for them, I believe, to get to know you and for you to really get to know them and to actually help. Yeah. But in the beginning, to me, I at least couldn't. I can see that we get along. Let's say we're a good fit for each other, but I can't say or conclude already within the first month that, you know, this is the type of people or the type of niche I want to work with.
Right.
You have to follow through with it. That's it. Follow through.
I think too, like with your niche specifically, I mean, it probably takes some time for people to get comfortable enough to like kind of open up and be honest with how they feel, what's happening, what they're struggling with. Because I mean, dude, it's like it's dating. It's kind of a touchy subject. I mean, the fact that they're reaching out for help is probably, I mean, that's actually something as well. Like with your niche, it's obviously people that are actively looking for help. It's not somebody that's just cluelessly like, why am I single? Like it's somebody who's actively looking for help. Okay. So a couple of other things that I remember, like watching your episode, you mentioned really quickly, well, well, actually the VA part was very quickly, but you mentioned like you do everything. Like it's like one person, it's all you, which, you know, is pretty common in the beginning. Like when you're starting up something, it's like you're the person that's maybe teaching or coaching, you're the marketing, you're the social media, you're the copywriter, you know, all these different things. You're wearing all these hats. And you kind of talked about, you know, you could scale up and get a VA. Like that was kind of an option. So I'm curious, you know, have you kind of moved forward with that? Like, did you kind of think, hey, maybe I should get a VA? Or have you held off on doing that?
I've held off for now, but I will tell you that because it's the new year, 2018, I have goals, and that's one of them. That, and then also probably outsourcing another part of my business as well. Right. So I am doing that so that I can put my focus to where I believe is more important, which is actually coaching.
Right.
So I am doing that so that I don't have to do it all myself, because you're right, it is a lot. Yeah. a lot of coffee needed all the time. So just realized.
I mean, for you, because I mean, I know in the very beginning, like people are kind of expected, like I'm going to do everything, and that's fine. Like for you, what are the signs, or what's like the benchmark for you to say like, hey, I'm actually ready for this, or this is actually something I can realistically do, like getting a VA or outsourcing stuff. Like what is that for you that's like a green light?
That's a really good question. I think it's a balance of multiple factors. Yeah. You have to know what income is coming in, you know, so that you know, well, if you're going to outsource, you have to pay them. So you have to make sure you have that. Yeah. A balance of continuous work for them. So if it's, let's say, outsourcing sales calls, what's the point of having one if I realize my sales calls are just not happening?
Right.
But I think if I were to simplify it all, because that's what I try to do and focus, I would say as long as I have the right funnel and foundation, like once I really, really figure it out in the sense of I know my target audience, I know what's coming in, I know the kind of sales calls that are coming in so I can prep the sales call people, I know what kind of emails I've been getting, like it starts to be a pattern and a cycle that keeps happening over and over, just with a little bit different kinds of people. As long as I had that down. But if I was, in the beginning, I was still trying to figure it all out, even till the end of this year. So, you know, it was not as comfortable to actually hand it off because I wouldn't know what I'd be talking about.
And it's so simple, right? It's like you have to be really clear on it before you can tell other people or give instructions to somebody else. Like, okay, like let's do this. Exactly. This is who we target, or this is who we're working with. It's like, oh, well. Exactly.
I don't think anyone would want to hear, well, I'm not sure myself. Just figure it out.
Yeah, they're going to be like,
I don't know.
Not sure about this new client. Interesting.
Exactly.
That's fascinating. And I think like the next thing I wanted to ask you about as well, because you said that you started this 6 months ago at the time, at least of recording the episode, and that you've made more than you made full-time in eHarmony. And so I'm super curious to like look under the hood a little bit and just like, how did you make that happen? What are you doing now, I guess? And like rewind, because I know everyone listening is like, oh my God, how did she do it? How can I do it? Right? Like everyone's like all, but I mean, like not just like the numbers of it, but like, how did you kind of start? Like, because you're obviously doing coaching, but I mean, do you have other sort of income streams or like, and how did that process look over the 6 months?
Yeah. So I knew coming into this that, luckily, in my background is in therapy and coaching previously. Yeah. So I'm very aware of the field pricing also, how to rate your pricing. So luckily I've been in the field to know that. I think if I was going in coldly, I wouldn't know what to charge. And I think that's the biggest issue. When people, yes. When people first go into business, they think, you know, oh, I'm not experienced. This is my first time, so I'm going to charge very little. I didn't have that mindset because
You're like, damn,
I know what I know what I've been doing. I know my education. I know my work experience. I know I can help, and I've helped people. So I think with that confidence too, that's helped just with my background. Yeah. So from there, I already knew I would, let's say, sell high-end packages first. I think that's more smart so that I could have more of that income to try more instead of doing little products. So that was my mindset first. That was my goal. And then if I hit that goal, then from there, I can kind of experiment with different packages and different products. So a lot of it, I would say, comes from just word of mouth at first, actually. I realized.
Very cool.
Just a lot of word of mouth. And this is actually something we talked about. I just went out there and tried. So my first ever client that came coldly, that didn't know me really, was me just shooting out a message, I believe on, was it Reddit or Quora? It was one of those. And saying, look, if you are single and you think you have, I don't even remember what I listed, but I said, what I think my idea was in my niche. And I would love to just talk to you. And that's all I wanted to do. I actually didn't think of making any money off of it. I was just I'm just curious. I'm curious about what you're looking for. Yeah. And within that call and talking about myself and what I'm trying to do, he was like, you know what? Yeah, here's a couple $1,000s. Let's do this. And it's like, oh, okay, well.
Oh my God. Okay. Can I just say the fact that he's just like, here's a couple $1,000s to a complete stranger. You obviously like over deliver above and beyond awesome conversation. Like that's not just like, oh yeah, we just had a little conversation. I mean, damn.
Yeah.
Pat yourself on the back. Yeah.
That was when I was like, wow, that was my, this is very much possible. And like I said, I don't think I would have ran into him if I didn't just try.
Right.
And trying in a sense of, I didn't see that as costing money because I was just posting on a forum, and right. I knew that I was just going to get a bunch of people talking to me about their dating issues. And I didn't think I'd get a client. I was just trying to figure it out. Yeah. I think in the process, that's what happens. And I think a lot of it, I will say, just to note is, a lot of it is about the conversation, with the other person and the empathy that I do share with them and feeling their pain. Yeah. Like I said, I've just been in this field and I know the pain of, let's say, being single and lonely. So it's having that kind of conversation and being able to take it from there. Yeah. That is also how it happened within 6 months because I just kind of sat at their level and recognized their pain and being able to do that. I think a lot of business owners, I forgot who said this, but yeah, I do believe that the number one thing any really great business owner has is that empathy.
Totally agree.
If you can feel that.
Yeah.
So if you can build that level of trust and that level of trust in you as a coach and trust in themselves, because I have to do a balance of both. Right. They have to believe in themselves while they believe in me. And honestly, if the pain is big enough and they know you can help, then the amount of money doesn't matter. Exactly. That's what I truly believed in the beginning. So, yeah, short answer, I did a lot of high-end packages first.
I like the long answer better.
And then from there.
That's so fascinating, but on so many levels, because it's like you're just doing, basically, in essence, you're doing customer research, but then you're in the moment when you find somebody and they find you and it's just a good fit. It's like they're almost like saying, hey, like, can I work with you? Or what's your package? Like, it's like they'll come to you.
Yes. Yeah. It's almost like what I say in dating too. It's like a click. It's the same thing when you're talking to potential clients. There's just a click in them. Yeah. And you just, hopefully, you figure out what that is and that you two click between two people. So it's just like that.
I love it. So it sounds like, and I'm pretty sure you mentioned this earlier, but like the most like things that you're doing is client coaching and working like one-on-one. And I'm curious about kind of the systems that you have to organize that and kind of make that happen. I'm a systems girl and I love like anything that makes life easier. And so for anybody that's, thinking about doing coaching or has clients, like, are there any, I guess, tips or tricks or systems that you use that make it easier to sort of manage, scheduling appointments or having those, appointments with your clients?
I would say organization's key, and figure out whatever platforms work for you in that sense, do it. So for example, systems, such as calendar systems and platforms to help you schedule, and clients can just go onto the platforms themselves and just click on it and schedule with you. Oh my goodness, that's probably the number one. If you're coaching, you need that. In the very beginning, I manually did it. Oh my God. That was...
No, that's like the worst. Yeah.
It's the worst. Even if you just had, 3 or 4 clients still.
Even if
they're
it's
still coming in.
I'm sorry, man. Like one person and you're like playing like email ping pong and they're like, so are you free here? And what's your time zone? Is that 5 hours?
And then, and then within then you scheduled something else. And so you're like, oh no, this time's not available anymore.
Free.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's frustrating for both sides.
Yeah.
So the calendar platforms are always really important. Yeah. And then from their I'm a planner person. Some people use Google Calendars just for everything, even their to-do list, or they have apps for to-do lists. Yeah. But I love my planner. So
like an actual paper one?
Yeah. I don't know if I can insert it like this, like an actual paper. This is mine. It's marble.
Oh my God.
But yeah, it has all these. This is actually my new one for
2018. I like it.
I need those.
The paper ones are okay. Like, I like the idea of it because I love paper, but like I need everything to be like synced. I tried it because I got what was it? I think it was like a passion planner or something. It was really cool actually. Have you ever heard of those? Yeah, so it's got all the quotes and you can write it down and it's a whole day, blah blah blah. And I just couldn't do it because I was like, oh now there's an appointment and I need to put it here. I'm like, what the hell am I doing? So yeah, I'm a calendar. I'm a Google Calendar kind of girl, but hey, you got to work with what works for you.
Exactly. And I think that's, well, there you go. The most important lesson is figuring out what really works. So for example, I am more visual. And random fact, I always used to love to draw and I was always kind of like the artsy person.
Me too.
So to have this planner and to doodle with sometimes and to just write it out. I will say my two parts is the Google Calendar helps with appointments. So it's true that if I do have something come up, I just had to block it. But my planner is more of the list of to-dos. This week's focus. I always have this week's focus. I always have a time slot of taking care of all clients prior to the week even beginning.
Right.
So I kind of look at who I have and what I need to send. And then on my to-do list on each day, I'll say send this PDF or send this, send that. Right. So the planner is for really listing out what's happening in the week or month.
Right.
And then the Google Calendar is very much like day to day. What am I doing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's an interesting distinction, actually. It's like you're planning in your planner.
Yeah.
And then it's just whatever is planned. It's like, there you go. It's like on your calendar. I love it. Okay.
Exactly. So even in my office, I have a huge calendar on the wall.
Right. Oh my God, I love those. I had one last year. I don't have one for 2018. I need to get one.
Yeah.
But it's so good.
Sometimes I find myself doodling on those too.
Oh,
doodle.
You're like on your wall.
Helps.
But it's not true though. Like it's interesting though because like taking your year and making it so you can see the entire year makes it the year is like nothing. I mean, I feel like wow, 2017 was like this, and now it's like right, a couple months go by, and I'm going to do this in 3 months, and this in 5 months, and it's like and then the year's over. Merry Christmas.
Exactly.
Right.
That's actually what I noticed about 2018 so far. I was doing some of this stuff, and I was like, wow, it's already summer now. Like to me, in my mind, I was like, well, there goes the first month. Now it's summer for me in my mind.
But that's the thing, though, is I think that like even just like having the forethought to even think to plan, because I know there are a lot of people that don't. They're just like, all right, it's 2017's ending, 2018's kicking off. All right, or maybe they think the first like month or 3 months, but I'm like, plan that stuff out.
Right, and this kind of ties into the idea of how I was saying you just have to test and try. But I'm a very big picture person. Even when I'm working with my clients, I always say that. What is the big picture here? What are we trying to do? And as long as you have that, you're kind of always gearing towards that goal, I believe. But once you have that big picture, and honestly, all you have to do is adapt. So if things aren't working, okay, you got to switch it a little bit, maybe change something in your months ahead. But you're at least still following that same goal. Yeah. So it's a mixture of both. It's like having that goal and making sure you want that, but then at the same time adapting as changes happen and things happen.
That's such a good point. And I think there's probably a lot of people that have missed that step. They don't have the sort of guiding light, big, long distance goal. And so they're sort of just keeping busy. And it's like, well, where am I actually going? Like I'm just flipping around here. And actually, this is great. This leads into my last question. But you had mentioned as well, like, family is a really big part of your life and you have a lot of responsibilities. It kind of sounds like, I'm like, dude, like, when does she work? Because there sounds like there's a lot of like interruptions and like responsibilities and things that you take care of, right? And I'm just curious, like, how do you, two questions, I guess. So first of all, like, how do you organize yourself so that you can get in some work time? And the second question just completely slipped my mind. So let's start with the first one. I don't know what just happened. So the first, let's stick with the first one, and then hopefully it'll come back while you're answering.
Yeah. So organizing time, there is an understanding between my family and I in the sense of when there is time allotted for my work. And that allows me to do what I need to do. And if there are any interruptions during the week, just let me know. So we do have that open communication and understanding, and I have to be able to stand my ground too.
Yeah.
So just like we were talking about, in regards to planning and organizing, for example, Sundays, like Sunday nights, are always my time to plan. Like everything for the week, all my appointments, hopefully reschedules happen, cancellations happen, that's okay. But as long as I know exactly what I'm trying to do on a daily basis, then when things happen, when interruptions happen, or when they tell me, can you take your grandpa to the doctor, I look at my calendar and see where can I be flexible. I have this appointment coming up. Can I be flexible with this person? Or I have this coming up. Can I change that to tomorrow? And then if I see the week already, I'm like, okay, yes, I can. So I can do that. So I almost prepare for interruptions, basically.
Yeah.
Because things happen. Life happens. I think in general, family or not. And that's not even my own direct family. And I know there are a lot of, let's say, like single parents trying to do a business.
Yeah, that was my second question. Yay! You're like answering it without me even asking. Because I was going to say, like, how do you think, how could you apply this advice to people that say have a family or who have, different situations? So it's like their own, like their kids, or they've got, all these different responsibilities. Like, how do you fit it in?
And exactly. That's who I think of, because even though I have little cousins to take care of and their kids, they're not directly mine. So there's a sense of it's attachment, but it's not the same. Yeah. But I can see how it still relates. And to me, I think the number one thing is not being afraid to ask for help too.
Amen.
There are times where I can't do a certain task or duty. I can't take the kids home, and pick them up. But I have to be willing to ask, the other family members, because I think there comes a point where you believe you should take on that responsibility point blank. And once you do, then the people who need your help just automatically think of you as well. And they just go straight to me like, hey, we need your help. And in my mind, I need to realize that there are other people I could ask that I trust, let's say, or other family members that are in town. They're just maybe a little bit farther away, but if I truly need them, I should just ask. And usually they're very open to it. So
that is such a good point. And even just like a couple things, like this idea of just asking is so true. And you talked about it earlier, like asking for help from people maybe that are specialists in a certain area and maybe you're not. But also being okay, even like if somebody asks you to do something or asks to have a call or asks to whatever, taking up your time. And if you can't, or if it would be better for you not to, and maybe like a different day, like actually saying no, like actually saying like, you know what, actually it would work better at this time. Or, I've had things where I've reached out to someone and rescheduled like an interview or something like this. And I felt really bad doing it, but I knew that it was better for me to reschedule. Yep. And for them, now, of course, in two situations recently, it actually worked better for them. So it was fine. But then like people don't mind sometimes. Because if your default is you follow your word, you get things done, you're like reliable, these sort of things, people don't mind if you're like, hey, today, could we reschedule this? Or I really need a bit of support. Like people want that. They want you to feel comfortable. And it's like with family, it's with business, it's with, anybody, like a client even.
Yes. Same. Yep. That's the same too.
But it's a lot. It's a lot up here, man. I think that like half the problem is up here. And it's even, that kind of ties back to what you were talking about before about like having the confidence in yourself for your business. And a lot of people at the very beginning don't have that. And that creates how would that impact you? Like if you weren't confident?
I was going to say, these clients, they know. They can see through you if you don't know what you're talking about. Right. And if you don't internally believe in yourself already, they're going to see through it, even though you can make up scripts and read off of them. But they can see. And like I said in the beginning, I seeked help. So I was kind of in a group of different entrepreneurs. And that was probably, the biggest thing, because we're all sort of new at that time. And the moment, probably one of the biggest lessons I learned was the moment anyone would say, but I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can help them. And that's when, let's say, the coach at the time would point out, that's when you're already going downhill. Like, once if you already don't think you can do this, they're not going to think so. So you're already done. So build that confidence however you need to build it. So for me, actually, I would say it's funny because it relates back to even like dating. Because I always say, use what you do have, and you do have skills. You really, really do. You're just not seeing it, or it's kind of dug in there and you don't want to see it, but you have the skills. You just maybe haven't had the constant validation. Does that make sense? That you're good, or maybe you don't have the proof. Like, people need to see the proof. Oh, I had to have, like, for me, I was even not lucky because I did work hard for it, but like I was on a TEDx talk, so at least that built up my credibility a little bit, in the beginning. Some people don't have that, but if you don't have that and you need that, then you just have to figure out how you can get that, or just, if you're a good speaker, use that. Maybe you weren't on stage, but you're a good speaker, so you realize you use that to your advantage as well. I don't think anybody really starts an idea if they absolutely have zero experience or skills. I don't think you would.
That's right? A really good question. I mean, some people try. I mean, I think there's kind of like two schools of thought. I mean, there's either take something that you're really good at and, go with it, make a business out of it. Then there's sometimes people that are really interested in something, but they're not the expert, and they might it's kind of like take them on the journey. So, I mean, it wouldn't be that you would become a coach right off the bat and like do premium products and this sort of thing. It would be, hey, I want to get to this result. Imagine like a good example would be, say, fitness. Like, imagine if I need to lose, say, 20 pounds. Like, all right, last 20 pounds, I'm going to get there. Here's my journey. And maybe it takes you a year or 2 years to do it. But then once you've nailed it, then it's like you can use your personal experience to then help other people. But even then, see, I can already see that. Let's say people say, well, I have never had this body before, so how can I have to go through the journey myself? But in reality, if you look at any kind of interest or any kind of idea, there are little skills within that to succeed in that. So that person probably already has the dedication and the commitment and the discipline that you need. So recognizing that, even though you're not already there, because a lot of times you don't need that personal experience. It helps. But a lot of people think that in business you need that too, when you really don't. That's almost like saying, oh, I have to be married to help people. This isn't not necessarily the case. Like, okay, that is so funny, because that comes out, like, why is that? I don't know if you can answer this question or not. This is totally just random. But like, why is it that like, it's like, if somebody is like a dating coach or helping people with relationships, like one of the first questions that people ask is like, oh, so are you in a relationship? Like, how does, I personally don't understand how that validates you or devalidate. Like, I don't get it. Like, is there some like official reasoning for this, or is it just people being a little bit weird?
I think it's everyone's default. Whenever you seek help, like fitness or help, you need to see that they have the body, because you've done that and you've been there, and you've succeeded. They want to see that you have succeeded. And at least in the world that I work in, there really is no other association except for you're in a relationship or you're married. But I will say that anytime anyone's ever brought that up to me, everyone knows I'm very vague about my own relationship, but I always say, well, at the end of the day, like, you need to see that, what if I was married, but it's a very unhappy one, and I'm only doing it because I know it's good for my credibility and it's good, and I need to stay. And I need to stay even though I'm so unhappy. That's not the point, right? And I tell them, the point of us working together is I'm not trying to just get you hooked up with any lady. I'm not trying to get you on random dates. I'm actually trying to find you happiness. I'm actually trying to find you a relationship that you will last in and be happy with for the rest of your life. And that includes when relationships end and you realize it's not good for you. Would you rather have a healthy one, even for myself? I would rather have that for myself than stick through with it just to be married. That's actually a good question I do ask them. What defines a good relationship to you then? And then that's when they're like, okay,
That's such a good answer. Like, dude, good answer. Like, I feel like we're on like Family Feud and all the families like, good answer.
Oh, there you go. That makes sense. Yeah, it's true.
Love it. Oh my goodness. This is absolutely awesome. I am finished my questions, Ruby. Do you have anything else you want to add, or I think we mentioned your website, but you can definitely mention that again if anybody wants to find out where Ruby is on the interwebs. But yeah, if you want to like wrap things up, if there's anything else you want to add.
If anyone needs to find me, I'm at goodgentleman, remember singular with the A, .com. And I guess what I want to leave with is something that helps in both dating and I believe business. I call it the just do it behavior. Anyone that's watching this, that's a client of mine, you know what this is. But it's just like they say, kind of like what Nike says, just do it. And you will figure it out afterwards. And you're never going to know until you try. It's really all it takes. It's actually very, very simple. If you want something, you just have to try. And if it doesn't work, you'll pick yourself back up and you will try again. And even though the two are kind of different, one hurts the heart a little bit more than the other, you know, at that point, hopefully you'll find support and seek help because like I always say to even my clients, I will always catch them. If they fall, I will catch them. And that's the beauty of it, is that they're not alone anymore. So even when I was starting my business, I wasn't alone. And that's, I think, what really, really helped me in that path. So just do it and don't be afraid to seek help.
Awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with me. I'm super excited to release this. This is absolutely awesome. Thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you for having me.